Welcome to the Media Pros Show, the show that gives you quick, simple tips to grow your business by serving as an expert in the media. Learn how to get all the TV, radio, newspaper, magazine, podcast, and online interviews and media appearances that you want, and learn how to be great in those interviews. I'm Dr. David Geyer, orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine specialist, and media medical expert. In the last episode, we talked about working with a publicist and all the benefits that can come from working with a publicist. If you missed it, definitely go back and listen to that or watch that episode because there are a number of good reasons to work with a publicist. But in this episode, we're going to talk about some of the drawbacks that you should know and that you should consider. And having worked with 3 publicists in the past, 2 that I hired and 1 that was hired by my book publisher, I definitely know some of the drawbacks. First, working with a publicist involves you spending a lot of money on expensive monthly fees. Expect to pay anywhere from about $3,000 a month to $20,000 a month. And most of the time, there's going to be a minimum contract. Maybe it's a 6-month contract or 12-month contract. And I know the reasons why you have these minimum contracts. I get it. You know, the publicist needs time to figure out who you are and what you talk about and what you're good at. And they spend time getting you good in the media. That process takes time before you start getting interviews. I get that. And if it isn't a minimum contract, it may be you have a 30-day or 60-day notice clause where you give them time that you're still paying, but you're essentially telling them that you're done working with them. Now, they will get you interviews and that will save you time from doing some of the work pitching. But as we talked about last time, you're still going to be doing some of the work helping create that pitch, sharing information, topics that help them develop the pitch. But yeah, you'll save time that you'll be able to spend focusing on your business. But then you have to decide, is the return on investment worth it? Are you seeing enough new patients, enough new customers or clients to justify that $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000, $20,000 a month? And that's going to be different for everybody. That's something you have to decide. The second drawback I'd mention is that they can't guarantee getting you interviews. They can only guarantee sending out press releases and contacting different media for you. I've heard of publicists that charge you by the interview that they get for you. I'd be a little nervous about that, quite honestly. Is that interview that they get for you actually helpful to grow your business, or is it just trying to get the numbers up? Most of the time, you're paying a monthly fee for a certain number of hours worked or a certain number of pitches that they send out. But you have to remember, PR and publicity is sort of a volume business. A lot of these publicists and PR firms have low pay, low cost interns that are actually doing the pitches. And it makes sense, right? The more press releases, the more pitches you send out, hopefully the more media interviews you get, which is a good thing. But it can also lead to this situation where publicists and PR firms carpet bomb the media. And by that, I mean this. My first publicist that I worked with years and years ago, I was paying a certain amount a month. I think I was paying $5,000 a month. Like I said, it was expensive, right? My first one was $5,000 a month. My second one was $4,000 a month. I have no idea the third one that was hired by my book publisher, what he cost. But this first one, $5,000 a month. And I worked with him for about a year, maybe 14 months, something like that. And I ended it because I got this email from a writer for the New York Times, and he kept getting generic press releases from my publicist. And, that was bad enough. It wasn't personalized to him, but this guy didn't even write about topics that I discussed in the media. He wrote a television column. Now, occasionally he'd write about sports on television, but most of the time he wrote about television. And my publicist kept sending these generic press releases on sports topics promoting me to this guy. This guy kept asking him apparently to remove him from his list, kept sending him to this guy, never took him off his list. So one, it was a complete waste of time because those pitches were going to somebody that couldn't use me in the first place, but it was also really inconsiderate to basically, ignore a request to stop sending these press releases. And it's not just that publicist. I get these all the time. Every single day, I get 1 to 2 press releases, some personalized that have my name at the top, some not, promoting a topic and promoting an expert. I mean, this just a couple of hours ago, this morning, I got one from a publicist promoting some travel topic and some expert on travel. I, in a million years, have never written about travel. I do sports medicine, sports injuries, health, wellness. I don't know why this person thought that a topic about travel would be interesting to me. And I know not all publicists do that. There's a lot of good publicists who take the time to personalize you and the topic to a specific person in the media and really develop great relationships. Not all publicists do it the wrong way, but just when you're entering a relationship with a publicist, look into that. See if they send out mass press releases, because that's something you potentially want to avoid. The third drawback, I would say, would be that the interviews that you get from the publicist might not actually help you grow your business. If your publicist lines up a radio show, say in Oklahoma City, that might not help grow your law firm in South Florida. Sure, being quoted in Wall Street Journal, USA Today, appearing on CNN can definitely help your credibility. But if you're trying to grow your business in your town locally, you want to do media appearances in your town, appearing on local TV, local radio in another market where your business isn't. It's probably not going to grow your business where you are. And unless your publicist lives in your town, works in your town, he or she probably doesn't have that many contacts in your town. And to be fair, finding contact information and the right people on your local TV, local radio, local newspapers just isn't very hard. It really isn't. It's something I teach people I work with, clients I work with one-on-one. It's very easy. Certainly a lot easier than trying to find producers and reporters, national TV, radio, national magazines and newspapers. That area maybe where publicists can help, but local media may not be as helpful for you. And the final drawback, and this is probably the biggest one, and it's one I've never heard publicists talk about. And I've listened to a lot of podcast interviews where publicists talk about the value of experts working with them to get them media exposure and talk about all the good things. And again, there are a number of good reasons to work with publicists, but they always omit this one drawback, and it's very simple. You don't get the contact information for those people in the media, the reporters, the journalists, the producers, the show hosts. They're the ones sending out the pitches. They're the ones lining up the interviews. They're the ones sending the thank you notes after the interviews. The publicists, all the contact goes through the publicist to that reporter, producer, show host, whoever, not through you. You don't get the cell phone. You don't get the email address. I mean, you might get a cell phone really quickly. Hey, I need you to do this interview with this reporter. He or she's on deadline, but that's pretty rare. But you certainly aren't going to get the email information. And that information is really helpful. If you have the contact information, you can follow up. You can thank them for doing the interview. And a few weeks later, you can pitch a new idea. But if you work with a publicist, all that information goes through them. Now, you could work out a relationship with your publicist where you say, before you start, you say, hey, I'll pay you this monthly fee, $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 a month, whatever it is. But part of the deal is, in addition to the interviews, I want the email addresses of all the people that I've done interviews with. Now, I don't honestly think you'll find many publicists that go for that, but you could try it. But why that matters is if you work with a publicist and you do an interview on, say, some show that went really well and you want to keep doing those, you're not going to be able to pitch that show yourself over and over again. Basically, you're going to have to keep working with that publicist and keep spending those $3,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month monthly fees to keep doing those interviews on those shows. Those contacts basically belong to your publicist. Of the 3 publicists I work with, remember the first 2 I hired didn't go so well. The most recent, 2017, was one hired by my book publisher. And for whatever reason, he was the one I talked about last week that got me all these appearances and interviews on national talk radio shows, national sports talk radio shows, and in some of the big markets, New York, LA, Dallas, that kind of thing. Really, really great. But what was really maybe a little unusual and really great is that he always gave me the host or the producer's email address. And after each one, you can bet I sent thank you notes. And then weeks later, months later, I would reach out again and just suggest another topic. Not a hard sell pitch. Just say, hey, if you're interested in talking about this, maybe we could do it. And you better believe I've gotten tons of interviews on those very same shows by being able to pitch them again. Some of those shows I still do today, fairly regularly because I had the contact information and was allowed to pitch them again. One of the things I do with the clients I work with one-on-one is that you and I figure out whether working with a publicist is right for you and right for promoting your business. And if it is, we work together to figure out what type of publicist would be right for you and right for your business. If working with a publicist isn't for you, then we work together to figure out what shows, what publications would be right to promote and grow your business, and who works at those shows and for those publications, and who might be interested in the information that you share as an expert. We work together to develop pitches to attract those reporters, journalists, producers. And then we prepare for the interview so that you do great and you attract potential customers, clients, and patients, and you get asked back over and over again. Now, please remember, on this show, in my coaching, on the Media Pros Coaching website, I'm not giving specific business advice. It's not specific legal, financial, medical advice, any kind of advice. If you have specific business concerns, please talk to an expert in that field. But if you want to learn how to get more media interviews and how to be great in those interviews so that you potentially grow your business, grow your practice, so that you become the go-to expert, hopefully, in your field, in your town, I can help you become a media pro. Go to MediaProsCoaching.com, sign up for a free 30-minute strategy call with me where we talk about your business and what you do, what type of work you do, what you're trying to achieve, what goals you have, and then we'll outline 3-4 simple strategies you can implement right away that get you some media interviews and help you grow your business. And while you're there, pick up your free copy of the Media Pros Interview Checklist. Very simple tips, things to remember, things to do before every interview so that that interview goes so well and you get asked back over and over again. Remember, this is about long-term media success and getting more and more interviews so that you develop credibility and people want to see you to fix or help with that problem. So in your journey to become one of the best in your area and really become the go-to expert, always remember the words of the comedian Steve Martin. Anytime people would ask him how they could become a successful comedian, he had one answer, very, very simple. Be so good they can't ignore you.